What's up, Roger? Hope everybody's having a really good day. Weekend, kind of rainy. That's a fuel pump on. I'm in here getting ready for the trucking webinar. Now it's pretty full class. It's like I think we're pretty close to same as usual. 25 people. It's crazy. It's my phone. I've been doing insurance calls a day and marketing calls where I just send out text and different things and just random calls like all over the place. It's crazy. So many people, like you see on Facebook, YouTube, everything's calmed down a whole lot. You see a lot more trucks for sale. It seems, I don't know, maybe it's me, but I don't see like the free for all going like crazy. What's up, Brian? I don't see the free for all. Like I still see all the authorities coming in like every day and everything, but I see the low boards that are sucking. Hey, what's up, Kendra? I just wanted to jump on and talk, man. We went camping this weekend. It's kind of rainy. I'm feeling kind of lousy today, man. I pulled my muscles out. But we're getting ready for trucking webinar this week, and I've been in here working on my freight sales class for the brokerage that we're opening. We're hoping to have it done by August 11th is the deadline, and we already got. It's cool because we already got customers we're working on. So it's kind of been fun, and we have a lot more customers that we're gonna. It's not so much the customers; it's getting the interaction between the carriers and the customers is going to be our part. Sales, you can sell all day long, but you still got to have the trucks to service the freight. So that's going to be the big part. Is spend a lot of time, and then we're opening a brokerage, so it's like a lot of guys. A lot of guys get into trucking and I'm gonna call a lot of guys get into trucking. I was just on a one-on-one with Ant. A lot of guys get into trucking and don't prepare for the storm, don't prepare for the problems. We're doing trucking webinar this week. Starts tonight, and it's really cool because I always when we get closer to the week, I always like want to come on and just start talking about trucking. Trucking's my favorite thing because me and Melissa met in a truck. We had our daughter in a truck. Trucking changed everything for me. The things that I know now about trucking that I didn't know then was somebody just said, all brokers are crooks. I know. I wish I knew that as a carrier starting out, I didn't have to work with all those brokers. I could work with customers a lot sooner than I did. I'd probably stayed away from so many, being dictated by so many brokers. Hope everybody's having a really had a really kick-ass weekend. I know it's really weird starting out the day. It's the first of the week. July 4th over with. Then we had that 2 weeks with automotive, whether automotive is really running. We're in a transition between melons moving from the south up into the Midwest. Things are changing. The November rush is until November 7th and November 30th. So a lot of stuff's changing. Um, I wanted to come on real quick because it's trucking week and ask you why you guys started your trucking company the way you do. I think people get caught up because if you're like watching this video and you're sharing it, trucking is like everything. Like if trucking companies aren't in business, they can't pull loads. Trucks have to have a place to go to, and a lot of people don't want to go to the big guys. A lot of people don't want to go freight chasing. Some people really want to be home on weekends. Some people anyways, some people, the product of trucking, like, are you going to be, what kind of trucking company you're going to be? Why did you buy the box truck? Why did you buy the Sprinter van? Was it because of your credit? Was it because you don't know any better? Why did you buy the 30 foot? Why did you buy the 25 foot just to get started before you got the 40 foot? Why didn't you get the 40 foot trailer? Why did you start without a 40 foot trailer? Why did you get a semi truck and you're going to put a driver in it, but you don't have no trailer, so you have no consistency? Now you're dictated by power only, and you expect the driver to want to do that kind of running. Where did you hear that from? Why, when do we open a trucking company, do we not have our family members helping it with us, but we give away to some money to somebody else? Why, when a broker can come into an area and get customers without trucks, and a dispatching service can build a network? I know you need a weekend to recover for the weekend. I do too, man. I'm telling you, I'm still wore out. Like we went for 1 2 week vacation, came back for 3 days, and went back on vacation again. I'm so tired. I'm ready not to go on vacation. I'm ready to be here working. It was like we have a lot going on, so I'm back in the office cruising. But see, why when you started, you sat down with your wife. Why didn't you plan your trucking company out? Not alone how you're going to get the freight. Like, why does everybody have this myth that the first 90 days brokers won't use you when it's not true? Why do people have 4 family members I talked to on Friday, but you only work with 3 brokers, CH Robinson, TQL, and fucking Uber, the big guys, because they'll pay you quick on time. But then one truck's not running and you're broke, but you got all these people that can be helping you, but you're still using 3 brokers. Why aren't you networking? If a dispatching service with no trucks and no MC number using other people's MC numbers can network, why didn't you do that before you started? Like, do you understand finance and direct bill? Do you understand how to flip your insurance policy to somebody when it's really expensive? How do you diversify whenever you have a $20,000 insurance policy? How do you get an owner operator to lease onto your company? And then do you even have a product to sell them? You know, some of the best trucking companies out there have a plan, and their drivers wearing their shirts, running the same areas all the time. You see them at the same St. Louis, same Indianapolis, same thing. Some of the drivers are your best salespeople. But if you don't have a product, why would they sell it? Why would they sell something where they only run today and tomorrow? You know, anyways, I'm rambling. I always wanted to come on because, like, we start the webinar tonight, and we're going to talk about the setup processes. We're going to talk about S corps and LLCs. We're going to talk about updating stuff. We're going to talk about safety and compliance and hiring process. It's crazy. We're going to talk about why do so many people buy company trucks instead of trailers when a trailer over 10 years is worth so much money? Why? And then you never even have to make a payment. Somebody else pays for it the whole time they use it. Why do people that have one truck authorities with drivers in them expect for breakdowns, and when drivers quit, they can't recruit? Why don't people try to understand that you're not going to walk right out there and rent and lease a trailer right off the back, and you may not get finance for one, but you could buy a truck and get your authority, or you could already have the truck and get your authority. Why do people still start up their authorities with DOT intrastate when they should have did interstate? And whenever they shut down their intrastate, they shut down. They have to shut down for a certain amount of time that almost kills them. Why do people only have orientations that go like 2 hours? But they have a privilege to make so much money on this in this industry in so many different ways. Hmm. Why don't people work locally and regionally instead of trying to save the world right off the bat, going all over the place? Why do they need to leave Indianapolis when they go to Washington when there's so much freight between a 3 to 500 mile radius of Indianapolis? Why don't we take the time to find 100 brokers that'll use us in the first 90 days in 3 or 4 cities before we start? Why don't we call a few customers? Is this why you guys are having all the breakdowns? You can't get parts. You're stuck on low boards using brokers that don't care about you. I mean, I don't know. And these are the calls I get all day long. When will you guys stop and reset and change your plan and actually start doing something productive? What's up, Kyle? Like actually networking, building multiple streams of income, learn how to diversify. Some of you guys grow so fast with company trucks because you make a few thousands of dollars and you think that's good until one or two of the company trucks breaks down. Like that happens everywhere, but it doesn't have to happen. You never even had to buy the company trucks in the first place. Could have got trailers. You could have started an authority with an owner operator. Why did you get the CDL and fuck your insurance up for 3 years when you never planned on driving? or you thought you're going to drive because these other people. Why do you follow the people you're following whenever they've done no more than one truck and everything else they had was rented from Enterprise? I get, how much does it really cost to run a one truck authority with you driving weekly for 50 weeks, not today and tomorrow? How long does it take to drive a cost for a guy that opens authority that buys a truck that puts a driver in as a vestor because you don't want to quit your day job? You didn't want to drive, you just wanted to vest. So now you have to pay a driver, you have to pay you have to pay truck, trailer, insurance, fixed costs, escrow, factoring fee, and some dickhead to run it for you because you're not doing it yourself. What if you have an owner operator with a company driver, at least to your authority with a dispatcher? How many different mouths to feed can cause problems if you don't understand that in your business from day one? I don't know, because I don't ever hear anybody think about that. Like one guy was busting my ass because he said, "Oh, he kept out 35,000 for a business for a hot shot." Shit, I was talking about keeping it 70,000. I don't know where the 35 came from. Plus, you need to figure up 120 plus for yourself to pay you. Then you got to keep out 70. Then you still got to pay truck, trailer, fuel, insurance. Does it just grow on trees? Right? It's harder than you think. Especially then all the people that come along that want to help you along the way, and then whenever the real work is involved, they all take off. How's the load boards going for everybody right now? I mean, I don't see anybody having fun. I was on the load boards earlier. It didn't look like they were that much good. The load boards suck right now. Have you guys did any demos with eCarrierCheck.com? When you guys go home on the weekends, do you is that all you have is that little bit of time at home? Oh, okay. So is anybody doing any researching on your plan next week where you're going to take your next two loads? Have you stopped by? Like I just talked to a guy earlier today and he tells me every time he goes to a shipper or receiver, he stands there with his business cards, like handing them out everywhere. How many times when you're in an area you want to really get customers? You just try for all the customers or you just go for the ones that you precisely want to work with? I mean, I'm just asking. What do you guys do? Like, what do you do when you're not on the load boards and you're pre-planned two loads out? What kind of network do you really do? Do you like really drive around while you're going up and down the roads, or have your drivers go down the roads, snapshot places with trailers dropped in them, take pictures of those places, credit check them with your factoring company, and then find out three or four things about them? Obviously, they hopefully they work with your type of equipment. You understand what they manufacture, and hopefully you look up and see if there's carriers. Because like I do it all the time. I see, when you see these customers with drop trailers and they have carriers in them. You know what I mean? That's drop trailers with carriers in them. So do you have drop trailers and then you're a carrier? So obviously they're either getting that from a brokerage or obviously they're going direct, especially if there's multiple carriers that are dropping trailers in that place. That's a great question. Ollie, was that UCO Ollie? Probably messed up. What kind of questions do you have about taking your brokerage to new heights? What are you doing with it right now? I mean, if it is it already? I mean, is it moving any freight? Are you just I mean, are you getting customers? Are you the guy that keeps calling broke customers and telling them you got trucks, but are you a broker and they already got like 40 of them lined up? They have enough brokers, or are you the guy that's the broker that doesn't know how to sell carriers that going see? Because you got to say, so first you got to find the lanes or the customers you want to work with, then you got to find the carriers, then you got to take the carriers and get the rates the carriers want because they automatically have to make money and move them, and you put those carriers in different groups by the rates that they want, and you take those carriers in a certain area to run to a certain area, and you go sell those to customers. I think everybody's got it wrong. Like you go get the freight, then you find the carriers, and hopefully it's still there when you get back. So, like, what do you guys really do? Like, literally, all you guys that are driving, I think you need transparency, or we need the government involved, or whatever the fuck it is, or our brokers are crooks. But you guys, good job. Keep selling. I mean, you'd have to ask more in-depth questions like I mean, what kind of freight are you specializing in? Are you just moving lumber? Are you moving fucking watermelons? You moving pumpkins? I mean, you moving chicken? You moving? I mean, what are you moving? You're moving stuff that's like on an email list that everybody gets, or did you specifically go after Master Brands cabinets in Louisville that's down there that only works with carriers, and you found a carrier that's right down the road that has 50 trucks and 100 trailers, but they're looking for drop trailers, and you went and lined that up between the two and became the salesperson for the carrier, the asset customer, right? Or something like that. Something like crazy. What are you doing? Like, what are you guys scoping out? Like, how many places and how many new brokers, even though you hate brokers, how many new brokers are, how many new brokers, how many new brokers are you finding in a specific area? So, like, wherever you live in the United States, draw a circle around a 100-mile radius of where you live. Man, how many new brokers are you finding on a daily basis? You're like, well, brokers are crooks. They take my money, but they're still probably working harder than you and they still have the freight. But if they don't have trucks and you have trucks and they did the work, can you find those lanes and ask for the customers, or is that backsoliciting? If you find a whole, if they give you the free information and you go use it, and to your advantage in specific areas, not freight chasing all over the place. Like if you do Indy to Indy or Indy to St. Louis, St. Louis to Indy, or Indy to Minnesota, Minnesota back to Indy, or Indy to New Orleans, wherever you want to run, but be specific. And you're to find those lanes. What's the odds you can start going to customers to service those specific lanes? Or are you going to do for free for all? And then what are you going to do when you get those freight and there's more than what you can handle, though? That's the problem where everybody gets tied up to you, all you little carriers, because you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trucks. So once you get in there and they have more freight, it gets intimidating. Specialized. I specialize in produce, meat mostly, and we're based in the Lone Star State. So I don't care where you're based, but so if you're in Texas, so you're hauling that beef out of Amarillo, you're probably pulling pumpkins out of Dalhart, or watermelons between Dalhart and Abilene, or you could be messing around over by Fort Worth, or you could be hauling stuff coming, the leftovers coming across the border in McAllen, because Dalhart and Farmington's just picking up. So it either be, it depends on what you're doing. You could be all potatoes. There's also onions. If you're all meat, you could be called meat across the border. There's a lot of stuff down there. You see a lot of all those parts trying to get to the Tex trailers. There's so much freight. Really, when you start understanding the area, I see a lot of people hauling the Missions tortillas big down there. Probably with some of those places is some are on Mexican side, some are United States side. So this depends on what you're doing. There's the Miss Marie at Romero Logistics. She says, yes, potatoes my specialty. Some people don't. I did have a question on the trucking side. Due to the price of diesel and cost of equipment, would it be a good idea to enter that side of the operations now? I'm seeing a lot of people complaining about the market right now and how it's saturated. That's a great thing, because when you already have the freight, right? So if you have the part down where you're the freight, the problem that you're having most of the time is not that you have the freight, because if you have 20 loads a week, the problem is you're probably finding the loads and then posted it on the load board. You only been in business 2 months, so you ain't got no fucking credit yet. So unless you went and you learned dispatching and learn how to control the assets where you're actually using the same carriers all the time, then you're either using randoms or you're using people that are trust your quick pay. So if you got two choices. You got the brokerage, you got the customers. So you can go and get more customers, but you want to get specific to the type of equipment you're going after. If you're not really that familiar with produce, then just because it's out of your area doesn't mean it's only freight. You can do produce, you can do drive-in, you can do flatbed, you can get into power only, you can get into all these different things. But you get really good at what you want to go after, like drive-in or vented van, or whatever your multi-stops, or if you're going to do whatever you're going to do. And then think about it, because once you go from brokering to trucking, and then think about what part of trucking you're going to do it. Because right now, as a broker, I could be a broker and I could be building my carrier base. And I guarantee if I call 15, 30, 100 carriers, I bet you 40 of them are 40 to 70% of them are probably freight chasing. That they don't have customers. They might have one customer. They're still doing most of their stuff to brokers and they can't afford a salesperson. You know what I mean? So fuel prices, there's are the problem because they got to pay for the fuel, and then they you got to pay the carriers regardless. So if I can go, if, when I go and find carriers, and I'm only going to find so many that actually know the rates, the rest of them are going to be somewhat lost. So if I can go and specifically go after a certain type of freight, I can go and do dispatching and I can find owner operators through these carriers I'm going to work with, and they're going to want to come lease on to my company. If I find owner operators that like the product of the type of customers I'm going after, it just makes it smart for me to have an authority and instead of buying trucks, I buy trailers, which I could use for my customers and my owner operators. And really, I'm making twice as much money because I go to customers now. I can put on owner operators to sell the trailers that they're going to pay for, and then I can make a percentage. But you're like, that's kind of like, no, but really I'm not because the trucking company has owner operators. The brokerage is over here. And literally, if I go and find these guys and make them what they need weekly, and then I make money off the freight on the broker, everybody's mad about it, but it happens all the time, right? So, and then the problem is I have 10 owner operators. Well, then once I get that customer out more freight than those 10 owner operators, the real guy, he goes and finds other carriers in that same boat, same lanes, same rates, different people. And he ties those two together and builds his assets and he still controls them because a lot of times you can get to where you're booking the backhaul. So if you're going to get the authority anyways, you might as well fucking just lease on owner operators, get trailers that particular to your type of freight, whether it's reefers or dry vans. And then when you start going after the other carriers, use your trailers and those carriers to help make yourself bigger for those customers. Because you really don't want to be broker and on load boards anyways. I mean, really, do you really want to keep putting it out there? Or would you like using the same guys all the time and adding two or three more streams of income to your process, right? That's what I would do. That's what I'm going to do. And there's a little more than that too. Because why do you want to go buy equipment when you can just set up an MC number in Texas and lease on owner operators and flip the plates and insurance, you know? Hey John, yes sir. Me and three other fellow people in this group right here, plus Frank, are all working together to open up. He's going to be running G3 services. I'll be running Shaggy's Logistics. That's how you get consistency with carriers. We're open Shaggy's Logistics on. We're opening it August 11th is the deadline. It'll be called Shaggy's Logistics Group, and we already have 5 agents and probably one, two, three. We're probably 6 customers. We'll start off with. I'm not worried about the credit score and stuff like that because we'll do quick pays and we're also going to be providing some dispatching. I'm not real it's kind of weird because I'm really totally against the dispatching, but now I'm going to have customers, and I already know a lot of the assets won't have time to do the dispatching. So it's like, because I don't want to teach dispatching service no more, but I already know when I start doing this freight sales class, if I'm calling 100 carriers, most carriers won't know their own rates. So now I'm going to have to do dispatching again because I'm going to want to control the freight because I don't want to lose the freight from the customers we're getting ready to get. So everything I preached against and preached not against, I'm going to be opening a brokerage, and then we're probably going to have dispatching, and we're probably going to have 3 or 4 locations, and we're probably going to have a kick-ass freight sales class and all kinds of stuff. And if you take my dispatching a broker class, you see, Ali, I'm probably messing up your name and stuff. Even though you've been in business 2 months, you would learn a lot of this stuff that you're missing because just doing 20 loads a week for 5 or 10%, hoping that guys are there on the email list sucks. You really want to get more specific, more direct, and you're going to do that by your carriers, right? You find the carriers because if you don't have trucks, you can't move freight. Well, unless you're dumb carriers and you move freight for all these big fucking brokers like TQL and shit all the time and let them manipulate it when they don't have trucks. They just have a whole bunch of people in office building backed by a bunch of money to get things rolling to cover everything and then eventually overlap, you know? Yeah, this has been a year for everything to change. And I've helped people build their brokerage and had a chance to go sell for them and do different things. But this is a year for all kinds of, and my wife. So now we're going to do it all ourselves. We're going to do freight sales. I'm going to lead the class starting August 10th. It's going to be a 4-week class during the day, and we're going to do live calls and with ecarriercheck.com. And then we're going to be opening the brokerage, and we're going to be doing live videos of going to customers and go walking and shipping or receiving in the Scooby car. And we got 5 agents that are currently trucking companies that are going to be leasing on with us, are being agents. They already have customers, some of them, and we're going to help them. And then we're building these offices to assist them too. It's just going to be fun to put it all together and show why we do it. And I don't want to try my best to always sell for the carriers. We've been talking to Yemi and those guys about really staying on track for the carriers and trying not to go that other way that everybody does. We'll see if we can keep it going where we use carriers to build a brokerage by carriers and try to do the thing that people don't do, right? And try to go and keep a consistency and rates across the board and keep the whole freight chasing mindset out of it and try to build some contract stuff. Is going to be a lot of fun. And Miss Maria Romero Logistics is she teaches in our brokerage week, and she has a brokerage, and she'll be helping. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I just don't want to give it away no more. I want to keep it right here and show people what we're doing while we do it. It's kind of crazy. So, anyways, why did you start a trucking company? What did you start it for? It's not too late to change it around. Why didn't you get your freight and your customers and your brokers you used before you started your authority so you had a plan? And then is your front of the house really going to back up your product? You asked about recruiting. Well, if your product in the back of the house is so good, then the product in the front of the house would be, you ever work at a place where the orientation's great, the bonuses are great, everything's great, the rules are great. They feel like they're protecting you, but then you get out there and you get no hours or you get no freight. But then you work in those places where the pay's good, the fucking money's great, the hours are great, everything's great, but the fucking front of the house, man, that guy I work for, he's an asshole. The safety, fucking everybody's getting hurt or all this stuff. They both have to play together, and then you have to have a plan what you're going to do with it. How does the trucking play in the brokerage? How does brokerage play in dispatching? How does dispatching play in the residuals and then networking? And how do you tie all that shit together? You know what I mean? So, I've been on here like 30 minutes. People have came and go. I know they hear this shit all the time. So, guys, next class we have coming up is August 1st. It's dispatching. Freight sales is August 10th. So, you guys have a really good week. We'll see you soon.